It will be Georgia. That's the Southeastern Conference media voting. It will be the Georgia Bulldogs that win the SEC championship in 2024. I was in Dallas for media days. I did not vote in this one, so don't scream at me. Here's why this is so fascinating. I'm going to flick you over to the website, dogpost.com. Make sure you're checking out our newsletter. It's right. I will click on it. It's right over here. And you can get this sort of information delivered to your inbox. There's no cost. Anyway, breaking news. So the Dogs, picked to win the SEC for only the third time in school history. So this has been so I was not there in 92. I was in high school. But I believe that the voting started in 1992, or at least that they keep up with. That's kind of the division point, literally when the divisions began in the SEC. And Georgia's only been voted as the team to win it 3 times. That was 04, 03, and 24. So 2023, 2024, and the 2004 season with David Green and David Pollock. Georgia is, I wouldn't say sizable favorite to win it. Obviously, Texas coming in second, in the preseason polling. Now, to see who was, who the first place vote was, yes, it was Georgia by a noticeable margin. It was 165 first place votes to Texas's 27, Alabama at 12, Ole Miss at 4, LSU at 2. And then we have these idiots that vote for Vanderbilt and South Carolina. It's really probably not worth y'all's time to hear me complain about that. That is so dumb. Every year someone votes for those two. And it's like, if you're not going to take it seriously, just don't take it seriously. And if you're the league, you have to process those votes. So it's a giant waste of time. Probably I shouldn't have wasted as much time talking about it as I just did. But I think it's right. If you look at the percentages here, so Georgia is like 7-ish times more likely to win the SEC according to the media than Texas. Is my math right on that? That seems a little excessive. About 6 and a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. Georgia being the favorite is not the shocking part at all. This is, they got 2 guys on the first team, 2 guys in their backfield on first team offense. They have Tate Ratledge first team offense. It's just, 3 guys, 3 offensive linemen at Georgia. 4 starters. Now, let me spit it out. 4 all SEC players from the Dogs are offensive linemen on this list. Okay, Tate, Xavier Truss, Fairchild, and then Ernest Green. So your offense, people are like, oh, what's he talking about with this? They're going to be really good on. They're going to be really good on offense. They're going to be really good on offense because they have some serious firepower everywhere, and it's got arguably the best offensive line in the country. The folks in Vegas don't view it as Georgia having that much of a substantial lead over the Horns. They've got Georgia about double the probability to win the SEC championship. I think this is right, Vegas, more than the idiot writers. But of which I am one, by the way. I am an idiot writer. But I don't participate in the stupidity of all of this stuff sometimes. I just, there's a couple of different reasons why. Usually I just run out of time. And the mechanism by which you vote is not always the easiest on earth, but at least it's digital. I think it's really hard to predict these things. I'm going to try to put something on the screen. I'm not sure if I have the capability of doing it, but these don't hardly ever work out. I think only 6 times in the last however many years since 92, only 9 times since 1992 has the media predicted the champion correctly at media days. They've never correctly predicted Georgia, and there's been some just whack job results through the years. The last time that someone other than Georgia was picked, so someone other than Georgia or Bama, excuse me, was picked to win it was Auburn, and they finished in last place in the West that year. That was, I think it was 15. So it just, it's just kind of it's a very curious thing, and I don't. Media Days is always a fun event. The SEC does a better job than anybody else, and the reason I know that is because I hear the complaining from people who go to multiple ones, and they don't like them at all. But they've been doing this since '85 in terms of talking about Media Days, but they've not picked winners. I want to try. I don't know if it'll come on the screen. It does. So this kind of just shows the history of it. Lately, it's been basically Alabama since 2013. Well, actually, since 2010. So Alabama won it in 09. And since 10, there's only been 1, 2, 3 other times where someone other than Alabama was picked to win it. And in each case, Alabama won it later that year. So in 12, Alabama won it. They beat Georgia. In 15, Alabama won it. They beat Florida. In 23, Alabama won it. They beat the Dogs. So, correctly picking it, if you've picked Alabama to win it lately, you've gotten it right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Now, you've gotten it wrong sometimes as well, but, we're in a different time. I mean, we just are. I mean, no one has ever correctly picked Georgia winning it, whether that was the media or, I guess it's really the only way to look at it. But with everything that's, going on with Georgia, it's not surprising they were picked to win it. It's slightly surprising that Alabama was picked third. I would have picked them third as well. I forgot to vote. I'll just put it to you that way. My plan was to vote when I got on the plane. We got stuck on the tarmac at Dallas Fort Worth. Dallas Fort Worth was quite an adventure. Not like JFK earlier this year, but Dallas Fort Worth was quite an adventure. And those pods are always an adventure, but at an airport. But Alabama being voted third, I'm not sure we've ever seen that. I think what was wild, as I recall, in 15, Alabama was picked to win the West, but Auburn had more votes to win it. Something like that was what happened, and that was a whole thing. But I don't think that we're going to see if something new has happened. We're going to see if we've entered into a new era of college football with Alabama being, in both cases, the third place team. So it went I'll go bottom to top. 16th, Vanderbilt. State was at 15. Arkansas at 14. Carolina 13. The Gators at 12. Kentucky at 11. Auburn 10. A&M at 9. Oklahoma at 8. Tennessee at 7. Mizzou is at 6. LSU at 5. Ole Miss, Alabama, relatively close, within 100 points of each other. Ole Miss, Alabama at 3. Texas at 2. And then Georgia at 1. Georgia actually was about 200, almost 300 points clear of Texas. So perhaps it was further than I made it out to be. I don't know. Alabama and Texas are relatively close, 150-ish. So, everybody's going to have to do this on the field. I mean, the wild thing about this is Georgia plays, of the top 4 teams, Georgia plays 3 of them, and they are number 1. So of the 4 teams, Georgia, you're going to see Georgia play all of those teams. They're going to either be on the field or they're going to be playing them. When you look at like Missouri has a great path. It would not surprise me at all It would not surprise me at all, particularly if Georgia beats Texas and Alabama, but loses to Ole Miss or sweeps it and goes 12-0. It would not surprise me at all if Georgia wins those road games that they play Missouri in the SEC championship game. I would not surprise me. I would be, well, I'd have to see it happen, but like if Georgia beats Alabama, and what I'm still a little bit unclear about, I have to admit, is, for instance, and I think it is mathematically possible that several people can go 7-1 in the SEC this year. It just can't be Georgia, Texas, and Alabama. Like, for instance, Texas and Alabama don't play each other in the league this year. So, like, Georgia could, in the case of, like, so there's not round robin losses. Ole Miss doesn't play Alabama, I don't think, but they may play Texas. I don't know. I don't have to go spiraling out of control here looking at all the schedule. Georgia and Mizzou do not play one another. We know that. So a lot of this season may be about losing the right game. I mean, like, Kirby's been good at that, to be honest with you. I mean, when you look at 21, they lost the right game. When you look at 19, they lost the right game, which was South Carolina. Like, that game didn't matter at all, as it turns out. 18, they lost the right game to LSU. 17, they lost the right game to Auburn. I mean, what I mean by that is getting to Atlanta. If you get to Atlanta now, you're in, clearly. The question is, will you get a bye? The other thing now, too, is with all of this, does it benefit you, or does it not hurt you that much if you're 11-1 and you do not play for the SEC championship? Does that benefit you? I would say the answer is no. Because you'd want to play for the ability to have a bye, but in that case, you're not playing that extra game. So in the SEC championship game, so if you're 11-1 and you do not play for the SEC championship, you're going to be the 5 seed or the 6, and you will host. And we'll just take it from there. And worst case scenario, I think to be straight, you'd rather be the 6 than the 5. And if you don't know a lot about tournaments, I can't help you there. But the 5 plays the 4, then the 4 plays the 1, the 3, the 6 plays the 3 or the 2. You'd rather not play the 1 until you got to play the 1. But it doesn't really matter that much. But if there's no real advantage to being the 5 over the 6. Then, it might not be the end of the world to be the 6 and host a game against, the 11, whoever that may be. Now, the good news about being the 5, well, let me contradict myself from a second ago. The good thing about being the 5 is you're going to play Ball State or somebody. The good thing about being the 5 is you're at home. You're playing Ball State. Your game's a joke. It'll be probably on that Friday night or whatever it is. I mean, like, it'll be, that would be the benefit from that. But if you're the 6 and you're hosting Louisville or somebody, then, well, you could be hosting Tennessee. I mean, like, we just don't know, which is the excitement of all of this. The SEC championship, I was about to say the SEC championship has never been more valuable. I'm not sure you can legitimately say that. However, you would rather be the SEC champion this season in a way that you were not precluded from winning it all in the past. For instance, in 2011, in 2017, in 2021, an SEC team that did not win the SEC championship won the national championship, and they were the best team in the country. So now, when we start talking about the league championship now, it's not the end of the world not to win it. We're flying blind a little bit here, generally speaking, but I'm not surprised with the way that the league has, or the voting media. I mean, I don't know how many people actually voted. It looks like maybe about 200-ish. Is that right? Yeah, about 200, and there were like at least 1,000 of us there, at least. And we got to hey guys, we got to start taking care of ourselves a little bit better. Like, I'm not making fun of people, but like, y'all, I mean, let's pick it up a little bit. Worried about that crowd, generally speaking. We're not in the best shapes of our lives. So, but it's like it always is at media days, I mean, it can be very stressful the day the team that UGA covers. Other than that, it's just people walking around trying to talk to other people. Either they're bored or they're, whatever. But everybody is circularly talking. Everybody's reacting to what other people said. There's very few people that have a real great beat on their situation, maybe including the coaches. And we just don't know a lot. And it would be nice for once to enter a season saying, well, we know these things are going to happen. In this season in the league, we really don't know. And there is so much. The SEC adding Texas and Oklahoma, but probably Texas specifically, has ratcheted up the drama, the intrigue, the word I like to use, the stupidity. That's all gotten much more elevated, and it's going to be a lot more fun because I'll tell you, the A&M Texas game, that's on the road for the Horns. That is probably going to be for a spot in the SEC championship game for Texas. Probably, not certainly, but probably. And even if it's not, that game's going to be wild. I'm telling you right now, Texas A&M used to be the fascination, if you want to call it that. I remember very clearly in 2012 being in Birmingham, and this was before Johnny Manziel, and there's always a curiosity about the newcomers, and no one really cared about Missouri necessarily. I think Oklahoma is not in that ballpark at all. I mean, OU, people care about them. There's a lot of curiosity there, but the addition of Texas adds, Texas, Arkansas, Texas A&M. You've got, I guess Texas, Alabama. This season, you've got Texas, Georgia, Texas, LSU. But just adding that name, the Horns play Georgia and Florida in the same season. That's a tough, that's asking a lot in terms of name brand. It just happens that the Gators are not so hot right now. But Georgia picked first, Texas second, and then Bama and Ole Miss. Can this league get 5 teams into the playoff? I don't know, but we're about to start that journey. Thanks for watching.